Hi, I am Hope from Timberdoodle Company, and I'm here with my mom, Deb, who is one of the founders of Timberdoodle Company, and we're here today to talk a little bit about the curriculum handbooks. And we've gotten a lot of questions about what our curriculum handbooks look like and what they all entail, and so maybe you could walk you through.
Okay, first of all, probably compare and contrast. Our handbooks are fairly lightweight. They're fairly slim, and some people are concerned that how in the world can you tell me what to do for a year with something of this size? And first, let me just explain. In other curriculums that you may see, maybe at a curriculum fair or online or through a friend, their handbooks, their manuals are going to be 3-ring bound. They're going to be massive. And the reason why is because they may be sending you a box of books. And in those books, there'll be something similar to this, Otis and the Kittens. Great book. But if you got this book, you would not know how to use it. But through their guidebook, they're going to tell you to read the book, to do math by counting the kittens, to study fire, to talk about how, in social studies, talk about how firefighters work, talk about what burns, what doesn't burn. So they're going to bring out a lot of detail that you may not, in fact, cover when you read this book, as we do to our kids. But you're not going to know how to do that. So they're in their guidebook, they're going to show you. So it's going to be Tuesday the 23rd, read Otis and the Kittens. Now today, go out and count kittens, or go out and build a fire and talk about what a fire needs to have to burn, or whatever. They'll give you a lot of great things to do. Wonderful approach to homeschooling. It's not the approach we've taken. The approach we've taken is that Timberdoodle's curriculum is more of a framework. We think kids want to get done with schoolwork and get out and do something fun. For you guys, you wanted to farm.
Yeah.
So it was horseback riding and raising sheep and all the other things that are involved with farming.
Yep.
You didn't want to spend all day doing something else. So what we did was we gave you the framework, and then when that was done in a couple hours, you were free to do whatever you wanted. This is what our handbooks do for you. So most of the curriculum that you're going to be getting is going to come already with answers.
Answers or instruction.
Answers or instructions. So we don't have a GAC in here.
This would be similar to that.
Okay, so mathematical reasoning for your pre-K. It's going to tell you exactly what you should be doing with your child. It gives you all the instructions right on it. To have a handbook that would say to you, go to page 82 and do blank would be redundant. So it did not make sense. Most of the books that you get in your curriculum kits are going to be self-explanatory. Likewise with any of the easy grammar books. They're going to have...
This is the teacher's one because it has the instruction and the practice in it.
So you've got the answers on one side, the instruction on the other. Cover it with black instruction paper. Do it. Check your work. A theory that we worked with our kids was as soon as they were old enough to read, they're old enough to assume responsibility for their own schoolwork. So that's what I would do. I would have the child do this and correct their own work. Again, these are self-contained units that you don't need me to tell you when to do it and how to do it.
This would be an example of how our guide would complement telling you how to do it.
Why don't you tell us about that?
Okay, so big book of things to spot. It's pretty clear. You open it up and you're finding 10 of these, 3 of those, or 4 of the other. And so then for our guide, we're just going to tell you, here's the number of pages you're going to need to do to get through it. And also, we'll make suggestions like, use this as a consumable, and that'll make your life easier. Go ahead and have your child cross them off instead of just count them out. So we will complement the information included.
We have some hints on how to make things easier, not for all of them, but for some of them, it's very helpful. And so what this is going to look like, this is not the same age, but what it looks like in your planner is it will look similar to this. And so it will tell you Easy Grammar Plus, so many worksheets. To get it done in a year, do 9 worksheets. And it goes further in there to break it down to if you want a weekly checklist, and then it does it for basic, complete, and elite. So it's, again, fairly simple.
Yep.
Because everything else is already covered in the information there. The exception is going to be for building.
Yeah.
And that's where we're in the back of some of the handbooks. And if you want to know if your handbook has it or not, if you're just looking to buy the handbook, and we try to discourage you from buying it because by itself, it's not going to be any more helpful than just the book. Yeah. By and large, it's not going to help you much, with the exception of a handful of them. And for example, plus, the box itself that comes with your kit, there are no directions. We think it's really important to have both convergent and divergent construction going on. So in the handbook, it's going to have ideas like have your child make something
they ate or something they work in the garden with or something like that.
Right. And so they'll do that. So it's a vague something that they've got to build, and then it's going to have the exact things for preschool. This is what they're going to be building: a watermelon and a garden. But for first grade, it gets a lot more complex. Same plus, other than it's in a small size. Mm-hmm. And they're going to have, again, a list of ideas, the divergent ideas: build a bridge, build a house, build something that your uncle likes to play with, whatever. And then the convergent has to be built this way, or it's just not going to work. So those are the exceptions in our handbooks. And again, if you want to know before you buy, does my handbook contain anything else, we're happy to tell you that. The other thing that they have in there is the reading list. And what can you tell us about the reading list?
So the reading list, let's pull up an example from a current year. Where's that here? Okay, you'll have several reading lists. You have the light reader, the avid reader, the committed reader, and basically what it's going to do is give you an idea of what type of book that your child should be reading. So read a classic novel or read a book about history. And so it'll give you kind of the category or the idea of what kind of book to pick out, and then based off of how committed of a reader you are, it's got more ideas for you. So that is something that you will want the guide for, to give you all these ideas of what your child should be reading.
We love this because we're avid readers ourselves, but it's easy to get into a rut. Yeah. And we see it again with our own kids here, is that
truck books.
They only want to read construction stuff, and yet they have a deficiency in social skills. So again, Otis and the Kittens let you do the trucks, but it works on the emotional intelligence. Likewise, if you have a child who always has to read, if you gave them, these are the books you have to read, and you don't give them the chance to pick out what they like, they're going to be more reluctant readers. So,
and the beauty of the reading list is it does give you some flexibility in that.
A lot of flexibility. So probably a biography is going to be classic. Yeah. So if your kid was very much into horses, they'll find somebody who
trained horses or something.
Yeah. And so again, a lot of flexibility, but it keeps them reading, which we think is really important. That is also in the manuals. Yeah. But what's the beauty is not really in the manuals. It is going to be in the online scheduler.
Yes.
And we've mentioned it before. It gives you the flexibility beyond this. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
So the online scheduler basically is going to do for you. So you have the guts of it here, where it's telling you, in a nutshell, here's your weekly checklist. If you do 5 lessons in easy grammar this week, if you do it every week, you will get done with easy grammar. That is the heart and soul, basically bread and butter, whatever, behind our scheduling. We've divided it up for you. We've told you, if you make sure your child gets this much done every week, by the end of the school year, you'll be done. The online scheduler is going to give you a little bit more flexibility in what you want to plug in, as far as when do you want to start your schedule, how long do you want it to go, and it already has our curriculum options inputted into it. So it just basically, we've saved you a lot of the hassle of saying, I went with your whole Elite kit, but I customized it and I took out Mystery of History 2 and I put in said Mystery of History 3 in, and now I feel like I'm all messed up because the lessons aren't the right amount of length or whatever. The online scheduler will work all that for you so that we've done your work for you in a lot of ways.
Right. If you trade in different science, it's going to help you with that.
Yeah.
It also will give you a lot more flexibility if you're saying, for example, our robotics sets, 12 weeks course, and you can put the 12 weeks at the beginning, you can put it at the end, you can try to figure that out. And so you're not, in the past, you would see it on every week, do a lesson in robotics, but you'd already finished it. Well, this year, it's going to be more accurate for you. So when you get done, you've completed the paintings in third grade, or you know, whatever you've done, it evaporates or it comes back when you're saying, hey, I want to schedule the paintings during Christmas break.
Yeah.
Then you can do that. Yeah. So it's got a lot more flexibility. To me, why I like it, why we did it with you guys, is that life is very flexible. Mm-hmm. And we don't know from week to week where we want to be on any particular topic. But this allows you to some flex. Mm-hmm. So you can say, I think we're going on vacation in March. So I would like to have all my math done before March.
Yeah.
And you can do that. You can schedule it in and do that. And if you're saying, no, I think this is really pretty rugged stuff, I think we need a full year, you can make it a whole calendar year. Yeah. So tons of flexibility.
And again, with our kids, so one of you guys asked the question. I just can't see how in the world this really works out for scheduling an entire year. And so basically, I just want to show you again how simple it is. It looks like a lot of stuff here, but when you show up on Monday, or your child shows up on Monday, so this is a third grade, so they're probably reading sufficiently by themselves at this point. They're able to kind of run their school schedule. They can decide, I'm just going to do one daily trait writing today and I'll save the rest for another day because I don't feel like it. Or they can whack out a bunch of these all at once. So it gives you the flexibility to say this part now, or this part I'm going to put off towards the end of the week, or I'm going to rush through all this now. Helps build that executive functioning skill. And they need that life skill to plan out how they're going to tackle that. And so it's not that overwhelming. You sit down, even if you were to sit down that day and say, I don't even know what to do, bring out the whole bin, then all you're going to look at this checklist and say, well, shoot, let's just tick off all the complete a sketch, or let's just do this. And you'll at least know you've made progress towards the end of your week.
Right. And I remember with you guys, some of you would sit down Monday and get all the schoolwork done for the week. And that's great, and others would just work away at it all week long and panic on Friday. Yep. But however, it works well for the child. And again, get the schoolwork done and move on to what actually interests them instead of a whole day of just academics. Because honestly, no child needs that.
No, and the other advantage of this independent learning is, as the parent, it enables you to step back and do what you need to do. So you don't have to be tied to school all day. Again, once they're reading, hand them the checklist and let them run with it some so that you can step back and do what only you can do.
Yep. Any other questions?
Okay, so that covers detailed lessons plans. No, you have what you need. How does it work with customized curriculums? That's going to be the online scheduler.
It is. And if your child, and we certainly get a number of our customers whose children are all over the map. So they may be an advanced reader. We had, our oldest was reading at 18 months. So that is unusual. If you have an advanced reader, but typically in math, then you may not be able to customize it to that grade. I think they're customizing it within a grade. So if you're in third grade, you can go up and down a grade.
But you should also, I believe, have the ability to say, but I'm going to add in, she has to read.
That's exactly right. Okay. So you can add as many as you want. So you may have to do a little calculation in your brain. Yeah. Not a big deal. You look again, how many lessons are. Typically, there's 180 lessons in almost every curriculum. And you just do the math and put it in there. And like I said, there's unlimited amount that you can put in. You can put in your trips to the gym if you want, and you can put whatever you want on this online scheduler and figure it out and print it out, and it's going to be glorious.
Yep. Okay. Does buying the handbook only for those who don't qualify for a kit give access to the schedule customizer?
Yes.
Perfect.
And again, it's people are going to benefit from it are the people who actually have the curriculum. So I know some people buy it thinking it's going to be
the schedule to save their lives, and it's not. It's related specifically towards this curriculum. Yeah,
exactly.
Okay, so along that same line of thought, somebody says, can they order the handbook separately from a kit? They are basically ordering pieces of the kit at a time. Can they order the handbook separately during one of those times?
They can. It is not cost effective. I think if they look at the cost of ordering it separately, because they're paying for the handbook and the online scheduler, and they're paying shipping. Whereas if you buy a kit, even a basic kit, you will get free shipping and the handbook and the scheduler. It's far more cost efficient to do it that way. I would recommend that they wait until they can afford to buy a child's particular curriculum, a basic, and then save up and do the next one and so forth.
Makes sense. Okay. Does it come with the checklist for each week, or do they need to photocopy it? Kind of answered through the custom schedulizer.
They can photocopy it, but it makes more sense to print it out.
To use the online scheduler and print
exactly.
it out. Yep. Does it start at a particular time and run for a set school year?
No. It can. You set the time, and you say how long the school year. We've had some families who jump ship and pull out of the public school mid-year and then yet want to finish on time. So they're compressing it, and that will give them that ability.
And that's where the online scheduler really is to their advantage, because then they can take what would be a typical 36-week school year, say I need to get it done in 20 or whatever, and it will do all the math for you to do that. How much prep work or materials are needed for the lessons, etc.? What would be a realistic idea of how much prepping I would need to do for each lesson? That
one is going to depend on the age. I think the baby one actually probably needs a little more prep than 12th grade. Some of them, as you know, the literature program, you probably want to spend a half an hour going through and making sure you understand what's being accomplished there. Once you've done it, likewise on the math you see, once you have done a lesson or two, you get your feet wet, you're going to realize you're just going to waltz into it every day and do it. It's not going to be a problem. But when you get your box for the first time of the year, you should expect to spend some time looking through the books and make sure you understand, okay, I will need to use this teacher's manual with it, or no, it looks like I can just use the student book and the workbook and I will be fine. Kind of figure out where it fits for you. But daily, you should have little to no prep. Exactly, with the exception of perhaps the science. So depending on what science program you pick, some of them are very experiment intense. And so things easy to find around the home, but you don't want to be sitting down and having to pop up again. So I would recommend every week looking ahead and saying, okay, here's what I need, and put it in a little Ziploc bag or whatever. Send your child on that treasure hunt. You certainly can do that too. And be prepared for that. And again, the other exception is Boom Science. Everything's in there, but it will require some prep to get the bowls and the spoons or whatever it's going to be. So not everything is as easy as, say, a grammar book. But no, pretty much we try to make sure things are easy for the parent and ideally leading toward that the child is teaching themselves. Perfect. Does my student work independently? And the goal is yes. Absolutely. Yes. That's pretty much as soon as they can read, or if you're starting this with a 7th grader that's never worked independently before, then you're going to have to train them into that, but the goal is immediately. Exactly. Yes. And why did we choose this system? And I think we've covered that with, you have a life and we had lives and we didn't want to spend all day at the school table. So get in, get it done, and move on. Exactly. And I think that wraps up the majority of our questions. If you have any additional questions, feel free to email us or ask on Facebook, however you're comfortable, and we're happy to try to answer more questions, or call. The customer service people are well acquainted with the handbooks and should be able to help you. Yep. Thanks for joining us.